As you may have known or figured out by now, if you're subscribed to my channel, you know that I have a wide variety of subjects or topics to talk about or to make recordings of. And the one today is probably a memory of with Jim Jensen, a neighbor and friend from years ago. So that's what this video is going to be about, basically interviewing him and his era or his time that I should say some of it that he remembers of what the Vietnam experience was. GoPro, stop. Okay, I'm out here today. I just met with an old friend, not a classmate, he was a year behind me in school, but I talked to him and I said, hey, Jim, do you want to go out and see the giant pumpkins? So I took him out there and we did look at the giant pumpkins, which they're not that great, not that big, but he was truly impressed. But one of the things about Jim here, Jim Jensen was in Vietnam about the time that I think I was over in Australia, and he was in Vietnam, and I said, hey Jim, you want to be interviewed about some of the things that you had done when you were in the service? So he said, well, I guess so. So I also reminded him that when we were 10 or 12 years old, we played softball together in 4-H, and then he went kind of into, got older, and then in high school, like I said, he was a year behind me, but then after high school, he, this would have been about 1960, 61, he was asked to join the National Guard with a friend of his, and he said no. And then what? What do you say, Jim?
I'm going to wait till they get drafted.
So he said he got, then what?
Well, then I worked at the feed mill for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I finally got drafted. And this Riley, he started working for Gischel's. He wanted me to quit my job there at the feed mill. They said we're going to get 50 cents more an hour in there. And I said, well, I only got 2 more months. I got to go in the Army. I'm not going to do it. So,
and how much were you paid an hour then?
$1.50.
$1.50, okay.
And they were paying $2
okay.
an hour.
And then he joined the Army, and how much did you make there?
Oh, $85 a month. That was terrible.
And about what year was that?
1964.
64.
Yeah, in February. I got 2 basic training in Leonard Wood, and then I had to go to Fort Riley. And the first time I got Fort Riley, the sergeant, he wanted to borrow $45, and I just got paid. I only made $85, and he borrowed. I lent him $45, and he never paid me back. He never paid me back.
But then, a little bit later, you went over to Vietnam.
That was in July of '65. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we come home for 30 days, and then we went, what did we do? We went to Fort Riley. From there, they transported us to California, and we got on a boat, a big freighter, and it held over, well, we had 5,000 troops with us, and it held 50 tons of ammunition was in the bottom of that ship. And it took us 28 days to go over. And all the time was going from San Francisco over to Vietnam. There was a big shark following us, eating the food from the ship.
Mm.
So nobody went overboard.
And then you arrived in Vietnam.
We got into Van Tao, Vietnam. It's the southern part of the country. And it was 135 degrees in the shade. And we were told, take your salt pills right away. I never seen it so hot in my life.
Now, are you sure it was 135? That sounds pretty.
That's what they told us.
Okay. What else did they tell you?
Well, the main thing is take the salt pill and drink a lot of water.
Okay.
Oh, God. Well, then we set up a base camp around Saigon, 10 miles away. It was called Benoit. And that was just the support for the airport. Tan Son Nhut was their main airport that time, Saigon. Later on, they built a bigger one up in Da Nang, but Tan Son Nhut was the main airport.
Okay. What was your job?
I was just ordinary rifleman and soldier.
Okay. And then what was going on in, let's say, the action or activities of the enemy at that time? Do you remember any of that?
Well, yeah, our unit they were bulldozing some land, and they hit a tunnel with Vietnamese in it, and about 50 of them come pouring out there at once.
Really?
And I don't know if they captured them all, but they did shoot a couple. And boy, it takes me, this is 60.
Yeah.
Actually, the one a whole lot of excitement, and my brother Tom drowned in the Wisconsin River, and it took him 3 days to find him, and they wouldn't let me leave the country until I found the body, and then I missed the funeral by a half a day.
Okay. And then you went back.
I went back, but they lost my papers, orders for in San Francisco. I ended up in San Francisco for about 2 weeks before they found him, and then they sent me over. Then I got over to a base in Vietnam, and they lost the papers again. So I had 2 weeks at this processing plant. But I knew it was all right because I had a place to sleep, and I could get food every day and a shower.
Yeah. You said something about going out on maneuvers or something at one point. Helicopter rides?
Yeah, we were attached to the 82nd Airborne, and we had our full Army uniform on and the rifles. And I know one time they dropped us in a rice paddy, and I went clear up to my neck in water. I held my gun above my head.
Okay.
But we really didn't have any battle till one night. It was perfectly normal at 7 to 8 o'clock, and 2 hours later they had a hole dug 20 feet down, 20 feet across, and about 450 feet wide. They were going to set up catching a tank. That was a tank trap for the Vietnamese. I don't know how they could dig that hole that fast, but they did. Then we got in a terrible firefight because of her.
Any of your friends get wounded or killed?
One of them got wounded on a ricochet. No, actually, we all lived to that one.
Okay.
Later on, they didn't do so well. But
and you said you had been wounded at one point?
I was wounded on that fight, on that night.
Yeah. But you never applied for your Purple Heart?
No, it was a good grab. I was just lucky we got out of it. There was a guy up in the hill shooting and firing off a machine gun. And everybody was going this way, and I was way over to the right. So I shot that way. And then one of them bullets hit him. And then the squad leader got on it and started firing again. And I had to shoot him too.
Yeah.
But I probably should have got a medal for that, but I didn't.
And you said something about your brother also was in the...
Oh, Gary, before I got out in February, he was in there in January already in Vietnam.
Yeah.
He was with an artillery unit, and he got a Silver Star and a Purple Heart.
Okay.
He got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard for my folks because we lost the one's brother from drowning. Then I was in Vietnam, and he was in there, and my parents thought maybe both of us weren't going to come back.
Yeah. And that was in the mid-60s.
65, 66, yeah.
And I don't know the extent or how many soldiers or military people we had there.
We had about 500,000 over there about that time.
And you said something about spraying fields.
Oh, there's napalm. They sprayed all over to kill the brush.
Napalm and Agent Orange.
Agent Orange. And we were exposed to that somewhat.
And then you said something about it 2 months later it would be all back again.
Oh, they grow right back, yeah. It's like a jungle. It killed everything and then it grew right back. It rained every day.
Yeah.
Every day it rained.
What did you say about your shoe polish?
That's another story. When we went over there, they said you couldn't carry that on a plane. And everybody threw theirs away, but I collected it all and put it in my bag. And I used them over there. Because the shoes we had were leather, and it rained all the time. Everything was wet.
Yeah.
And my shoes I could keep. Right. Later on, they gave us these cloth shoes that they didn't rot.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't sell the polish, but I lent it out. I was the only one that had any.
Okay, I'm still here with Jim, and we're talking about his later years, and he mentioned something about he had to go back to Vietnam after the funeral of his brother. Mm-hmm. And then what did you say?
Well, that's when we first took a while to get back because they lost my papers in San Francisco. So I ended up staying in San Francisco for 10 days. And nightlife was different.
But before that, you said during the leave, you met your future wife.
Well, not then, no.
Okay.
No, not until I got out of the Army.
Okay, when were they writing to you?
Oh, they were writing in the last 6 months that I was in the service.
Okay.
These are girls. They were all Edgewood College girls. And one guy thought he lost his girlfriend to me. I said, no, I have no intention of stealing your girl. But they were pretty smart women.
They wrote to you, so they
were smart. One of them was rich, too. One of them, her dad owned a clothing store up on State Street.
Okay.
The store alone was over a couple $1 million worth.
Well, you should have. Well, you're all right. You're all right, Jim.
Yeah, I married a pauper.
Okay. But she takes care of you, and he says they've been married how many years?
56.
56. Okay, I've been married, I think 47, maybe 48. I don't know.
Well, I come back. I was over there on a weekend, and 3 girls walked into this dance hall, or the bowling alley underneath. And I asked her, 2 girls she was with got up and went dancing. So I asked my wife, would you like to dance? And her first words were, I suppose so. And I thought, oh, brother, what's this going to turn out to be? And then she said she didn't like me at first, And then at the end of the night, she said, I told her I go over to Turner Hall once in a while. I never see you over there, she said. I didn't go there the next week, but the next week I went over there. I was sitting there, and she come in with those 2 girls again. She come right over by me, and
that was it.
I haven't gotten rid of her since.
You probably don't want to get rid of her either. No.
Oh, no, not no more.
No. Anyway.
She's worth half of what I have, so.
Anyway, Jim has worked he came back from Vietnam one day, and then the next day he went to work at Badger Ordnance.
Badger Ordnance, yes. I went there to apply for a job. Told him I just got out of Vietnam. Next morning I had to go to work. But I got a job in accounting, which was nice. Then 6 months later, this Lenny Pulfus of the feed mill, when are you going to come back and take over the mill? And I said, I didn't know I had a job even. And I thought about going there, and I said, oh, gee, here I'm in a nice warm room all year round. Do I want to stand out there in the 10 below 0 weather? I did that before, and I know I wasn't going to go through that again. But then 3 years, the war was winding down, and I thought I'd better look for a better job and more benefits. Then I started Oscar Mayer.
Okay. And you worked there a number of years.
I stayed on the grave. I was building the houses in April. of 69. And I couldn't afford to get laid off, so I stayed on the graveyard shift. I think for 15 years. I could never get, they couldn't bump me off the job. They laid off anywhere from 500 to 800 people every fall.
Okay.
But as long as I was on that shift, they couldn't bump me off. So.
Yeah. So overall, what would you say about your Vietnam experience?
Oh gosh.
You're not suffering from the PTSD like some people are. Many people, the memories of it. And
I just kind of waited it out and was so glad when I got out of there.
And many times there's a lot of things that happen there. People don't talk about it, don't or won't and shouldn't. But it certainly was a era of Jim's life that he had to go through. And now I see him out for coffee every once in a while with the guys talking about the news in the community. And well,
this has been some 60 years since I've been in Vietnam.
Yeah.
At least.
And
I'm retired.
Yeah.
Actually retired from 2 different jobs. But
okay.
We get by. I bought some land in 74, kept it for 42 years, then I sold it.
Yeah.
Land and woods. And I paid 800 acres, sold it for 10,000 acres. But I haven't been paid for it yet. I get so much each year. 15-year contract.
Anyway.
So that's my retirement fund every year.
Okay. For me, it's fun visiting with Jim just because we have some common things in certainly in the area. A few friends are the same. Friends that we've lost, people that we've known that we've lost. Unfortunately, our age is caught up with us, I guess.
Well, I know your dad used to come down the mill. We really enjoyed him.
Yeah. And
your mother, she's been the best mother-in-law I've ever had. If
you'd have had
married
one.
your sister.
Okay. Yeah, I know. My mother and dad too were great. Anyway, GoPro, stop recording. Okay. What we'll do? What should we do? I'm going to start talking, and then I'll say, this is an old guy. He's actually younger than me. But anyway, then I'll start talking about, well, we played softball together, and he lived over the hill from where I lived. And
well, I know your family. You know Larry.
Yeah.
He's the oldest, and you,
yeah.
And Marie, which is a classmate of mine.
Right, yeah. And then I'm going to...
She live over here somewhere?
She lives
Bogermakers?
down the end of that road over there.
She does, okay.
Yeah.
I know she lost her husband.
Yeah.
She came to the class reunion. The last one we had I think it was last year.
YouTube, because you're a vet, the Vietnam era vet, and there's thousands of those out there too, and thousands of vets. So maybe I'll ask you a couple of questions about it, like what year you were in, and...
Well, in 1960, I graduated. In 61.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I haven't recorded it yet, but I will read. I
was going to say, Jack Weller wanted me to join the National Guard, and last minute I turned it down. Worked at the mill.
Oh.
And then a year later, they got called over to Berlin for a year.
Well, it wasn't to Berlin; it was to North Carolina. It was during the Berlin crisis.
Crisis, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they had to go overseas.
No, because I was in that same outfit.
So the regular Army had to go over there, and then the National Guard covered.
Well, it was Army Reserve. We went to North Carolina,
okay.
And then there was always rumors. Well, your next step is over there or something, but it didn't. Timed.
This is something you don't know. I bought a brand new. You bought a new Volkswagen, I think.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay much more for this car. $2,000. All I had to pay for that, because my uncle got it for me. And I was at the mill working, and your mother and Meredith came along. We want to see your new car. So It was parked over there where Brian and boat across.
Yeah.
That's where I parked during the day, and I could see my car all day. We walked over there, and your mother said, "I want to ride," and Meredith said, "I want to ride too." But I thought she was going with somebody, so I never asked her.
Oh.
What a dumb. But you know, she's an age in 20 years.
Oh. Meredith.
Oh, that's
Marie.
right. We at the country club.
Oh.
Who got married? Was that your Larry's? Well, it was one of the. Oh, for God's sakes!
I don't.
We had a wedding over there. That's what I talked to you over there once. By that time, I had a brand new.
You may have talked to my brother. You might have been.
We went to the homemakers
Oh yeah.
trip out to Washington D.C. and your brother was there with us out there.
Oh, okay. I wasn't.
But he didn't want to go up to the monument. It would cost $2. And I said, well, if you're short, I'll give you $2. No, he didn't want to go up too high. But we went up to the top.
Yeah.
Your ears pop when you go up the last one. Oh, it's way up there, 500 feet, I think. Just look and then you see the whole.
GoPro, start recording.